Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Augusto Argandoña Fine Arts. Anytime in this narrated tutorial, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. If you should want to learn about my virtual classes or want to see my paintings, you may do so in my website at aafinearts.com. This tutorial is about how to paint coastal scene with watercolors. I took a photograph for this image at an area in South Carolina called PALMETTO BLUFF, a very picturesque, very beautiful area. And because of the name, these are palm trees that usually are, grow wild in South Carolina. I live in Florida. We have a lot more varieties of palm trees here, but we also have those. This was a very sunny day. The sky was bright blue, but when I paint this, I'm going to leave some areas white for some clouds, just to give a little bit more interest to the composition. There's a southern pine tree over here that I'm going to do. The distant land, there will be a little bit of houses there, a couple of 2 or 3 houses here. This land mass is a little closer than this area, and of course there will be some grassy areas here. And I may put a boat or 2, maybe, we'll see. But without much ado, go ahead and start this tutorial. Get myself situated here on my drawing table, and I'm going to start by doing the sky. I'm going to add quite a bit of water to the sky area and go over these areas where these palm trees and the tree are evergreen. So I'm using a wide flat brush, and I'm going to go over that area like that. Make sure that these areas are quite covered with the water, and bring the water all the way down to the edge of the water in the distance. And make sure that this area is pretty much covered. I'm going to add a few more strokes here like that, and that's it. I'm going to remove some of the water from this edge so it doesn't bleed into my painting. And I'm going to change brushes to a smaller flat brush, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow ochre and go put that yellow ochre into the distance, and maybe a little bit more to this area. I took this photograph probably around 10 in the morning, and so you can still see some of the hazy light yellow ochre color way in the distance. So now I'm going to bring in some manganese blue with some cobalt blue, primarily the cobalt blue, and quite a bit of it actually. And I'm going to start painting the sky. Like I said, I'm going to leave some areas white. Make sure I don't touch that yellow ochre. Like that. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to also pick up some clean ultramarine blue. And with that ultramarine blue, I'm going to come and blend this right into the yellow ochre. The ultramarine blue does not turn the yellow ochre green, whereas the other colors would turn the, I'm going to get rid of that shape. The other colors will turn the yellow ochre green. A little bit more of the ultramarine here. Blend it right into that blue. There, like that, and the sky is pretty much done. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to make sure that I don't touch that area. I don't want the pigment to bleed it, but so I'm going to use a little bit of the ultramarine blue with this time with the manganese blue, and on dry paper I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and paint the water. Yeah, like that. Clean my brush and bring a little bit more of the manganese blue. There we are. Leave some space for these bushes that are on land in the foreground. Get rid of those white spots. And just go over like that. And we'll bring a little bit more of those colors and come over here and darken this water area a little bit more. This is going to dry much lighter, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. There, like that. Clean my brush. This area where where the water and the pigment hit this dry area, it's a hard edge, but I'm gonna do away with that later. So while that is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of, paint a little bit of the foreground, but I'm not gonna touch the water because otherwise the color will bleed into that. And this time I'm gonna use some raw sienna with a touch of cerulean blue and a little bit of the aureolin yellow, but primarily the raw sienna. And I'm going to come over here and without touching that blue, I'm going to start painting the foreground area where the grasses will be. I'm going to come over here and just do that. A little bit more water in my brush, a little bit more raw sienna, like that. There, like that. A little bit more of the cerulean blue. This is the base color. There will be more colors added into this area. Yeah, that water is pretty much dry now. That part of the paper is dry. So I'm going to go ahead and get right to the edge. And I'm going to increase the value of those colors. The raw sienna, a little bit of the aureolin yellow, and the cerulean blue. And come over here and do a little bit more of that green area. This, like I said earlier, this is the base color. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna let that dry. My sky is still kind of damp, so I'm gonna wait. If I start painting the distant landmass and this area, that's gonna bleed into this, into the sky, and I don't want to do that. These areas where I left the white and it's created a little bit of a blossom, which is really nice, gives that wispy effect to those, that cloud, this cloud and that cloud, which is, you know, very interesting. Notice the the ultramarine coming into the yellow ochre is just fine, also blending into the other blue. Had I not used the ultramarine and brought these blues into the yellow ochre, this area would turn green. and that's not good for the sky. This is dry. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing the bushes there too. For that I'm gonna change brushes to a large round brush, and I'm gonna use more of the aureolin yellow with the raw sienna. And this time I'm going to use a little bit of permanent sap green, because these bushes have a really nice, bright, sunny color. Again, this is going to be the base color for these bushes. I don't know what type of bushes they are, but you know, very bright green. I'm gonna go right into that water area too. A little bit more of the raw sienna. This time I'm not going into the water. I'm gonna pick up another green. This is undersea green with a little bit of the other permanent sap green, and add a little bit more color here. This water area is dry, so I can come into that area. Like that. There we are. I'm going to come into this area too, avoiding the tree trunk. I'm going to change colors. Instead of the raw sienna, I'm going to go to raw amber to do an entirely different type of green. Quite a bit of the raw amber, permanent sap green, and a little bit of ultramarine blue mixed there. My computer went to sleep, so I'm gonna wake him up. Wake up, computer, there we are. And I'm gonna do a little bit of different green here. Varieties of greens are a really good idea to do to get the effect of all the different vegetation here. Like that. And now I'm gonna change colors again. I'm going to go a little bit more ultramarine blue with that raw amber. Yeah, my brush is almost dry, so I'm going to start getting some effects of the outline of some of this vegetation. Especially over here. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Now I'm gonna go to permanent. I'm gonna use the same colors, but I'm gonna introduce the permanent. The undersea green. And I'm going to use a little bit of the raw amber and some Payne's gray to do some of the darker areas here. Much darker now. Some of these parts of the bushes that are in the shade. All this vegetation, the palm trees and this tree are casting shadows here too, so that's the reason for this. But I'm not doing away with some of the nice light greens here either. Yeah, like that. And I'm going to bring in a little bit more of those colors. And with a dry brush, I'm gonna come over here and do these palm trees. There, like that. Yeah. Come over here and do the same thing. And that area is pretty much done. That there, like that. Good. Clean my brush. And this is dry now. Almost dry. So I'm going to change brushes to a smaller round brush. If I can find it. My round brush. Okay, here it is. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of cerulean blue with this green that is in my palette and do that distant land area. I'm going to add a little bit more water. Pick up some cobalt blue and mix it there. The cobalt blue has a beautiful tendency of throwing everything into the distance. So this is too much. There we are. I was going to show some houses in the distance, but I'm not going to do that. There. There, that landmass is done. I'm going to do this other landmass here area. For that, I'm going to bring out some raw sienna, a little bit of aureolin and cerulean blue for some of the grassy areas here and there. Like that. A little bit more water, a little bit more of the raw sienna. There might be a little bit of a marsh right at the edge, so I'm going to do that. Like that. And I'm going to pick up the green that's in my palette, pick up some cobalt blue, and come over here and do these trees that will be a lot more darker. And the paper is dry, so I want the details of this, the edge of these trees there, like that. And with that color, I'm going to block the buildings that are over here, houses. Like that. Add a little bit of a variety of green here. I'm also going to bring a little bit more of undersea green. A little bit of sepia. and ultramarine blue. Make some of these lower areas a little darker. Like that. Give a little bit more definition to some of these tree areas, like that. Because this landmass is a little closer than the distant landmass there, so I'm going to bring a little bit more ultramarine blue with the sepia and give some of these areas a little bit more base for the shadows, the areas of the foliage that are in the shade, and those blocking off the areas for those buildings. And like that. Because it's still quite a bit of distance, I'm not going to put too much detailed texture into these areas. The detail is in the perimeter of the outline of the trees, actually. That's what it is. There. There, like that. And that's done. This is dry now, so I'm going to do the grasses. I'm going to take a flat brush and I'm going to pick up some, let's see, some of this raw umber, a little bit of the permanent sub green, mostly the raw umber, and separate the bristles like this. Don't do this like over your painting, like that, and come over here and do some of these grasses at the edge of the water. Like that. A little bit more of the raw umber, maybe a little bit of Payne's gray for some of the darker areas. And over here too, some grasses like that. Also gonna vary the value of some of these areas, and with that I'm gonna create some of the grassy areas too. There are some taller grasses over here. I'm gonna change colors to the under sea green with this time with a little bit of burnt umber, almost a dry brush effect though. There we go. Like that. A little bit more water in my brush, just a little bit, not much. Some more raw umber, burnt umber on the sea green, and do these grasses here. Tall grasses. Darker, and do them in different directions. More of the green, There we are. Have a little bit more grasses on the edge of the water. There, and that area is done. In my brush. And now we tackle the palm trees. And for that, I'm going to use quite a bit of raw sienna. With enough water in my brush, a little bit of aureolin yellow and the cerulean blue. Mostly the raw sienna though. And come over here and we'll put a little bit of color right in the middle of this palm tree. And my brush is almost dry, so I'm going to press the brush against the palette, separate the bristles, and holding the brush this way, about halfway, you do this, barely touching the paper, like that. There's another palm tree over here next to it. And like that. And there's some more over here. There's this other one. They're almost touching each other. Like that. So now I'm going to change brushes again to a different type of brush, round brush. And I'm going to pick up some cerulean blue, mix into that raw sienna. And I'm going to wait until that dries a little bit. Wake up my computer for now. Okay, there we are. And now I'm going to start shaping this palm tree. A bit more of the cerulean blue and the raw sienna. These saw palmettos, I'm sorry, the cabbage palms actually are really graceful. So that's how I'm painting. I'm gonna let that dry. That's the base color. While that's drying, there's another one over here that's a little darker. I'm gonna use more cerulean blue and raw sienna. And then I put a little lighter in color. Like that. Okay, so now I'm going to change. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to do the darker areas of those palm trees. I'm going to use some permanent sap green with the raw sienna and a little bit of ultramarine blue to do some of the dark areas. And then I will change brushes. Yep, I will change brushes. Also, get some Payne's gray into that mixture. A little bit of undersea green this time. And with a dry brush, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to do this palm tree. Use my brush the opposite way because to create that edge of this palm tree. Like that. There. Like that. Very small amount of water in my brush. More raw sienna, undersea green, and a little bit of a Payne's gray for the darker sections. There, like that. Something here. A little bit of sepia mixed there. I'll change brushes again. Now I'm going to really shape these palm trees. Especially this one. Like that. And like that. I'm going to add a little bit of dark areas here. Yeah. Now I'm going to get some, pick up some burnt umber and ultramarine blue into the trunks. Yeah. With some darker areas here too, and these trunks. And like that. Like that. A little bit of dark areas here too. Yeah. But maybe too much, so I'm going to remove some of that. There. Like that. Okay. Now with a thirsty brush, I'm going to start lifting some color. This, leaving the base color underneath. There, like that. Same thing over here. Give a little bit more of a dimension to some of these palm trees. There, like that. There. Now I'm going to make a mixture of bronze sienna, light bronze sienna, and give this trunk a bit of color. I'm going to remove that later. There, like that. Also a little bit of a brown matter mixed there. A little bit more of the bronze sienna on one side of the trunk. Bring some ultramarine blue into that. And do the darker side of this trunk. There. A little bit of sepia to it. And do the shadow side of this trunk. And from there, I want to do some branches. Like that. A few more branches over here. Like that. And now I'm going to pick up some undersea green. Put a bit of it with ultramarine blue. And a little bit of the raw umber. I'm sorry, the raw umber. And then with a dry brush, I'm going to do the foliage for this pine. That. little bit more of those colors. Yeah, like that. And I'm going to darken one side of this trunk a little bit more. All of this stuff was going to be casting shadows on that trunk too. There, like that. I'm going to darken these trunks also. And I'm going to add some, with a rigid brush, if I can find my rigid brush, here it is. I'm going to add some little twigs and things like that here. Add some things like this over here. And that's about it. I'm going to, with my small round brush, pick up this gray color that's in my palette, and I want to do some of these buildings in the distance. Like that. Yeah. Like that. There's a small amount of there's a duck over here, so I'm gonna do that too. Like that, there. And lastly, I'm going to pick up some dark pigmentation and do some windows and doors here. Like that. And then I'm going to take my small flat brush, moisten it, remove the moisture, and give a highlight to this trunk. There, like that. Where the sun is hitting that side of the trunk. Yeah. Okay. And I'll do the same thing with this trunk. There. Maybe a little bit on this side of these palm trunks too. There, like that. And that's about it. Lastly though, I will take a small brush, round brush, pick up some cobalt blue, mix with the gray that's in my palette, and do a little bit of those ever-present seagulls that hang around these areas. That's it. And the painting is finished. I'm gonna remove this tape, bring a dark board, I'm gonna put this on the dark board, and you're gonna see how this looks like. Morning sunlight at BLUFF, Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. Palmetto Bluff, South Carolina. And I'm gonna minimize it, and there it is. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy my painting. And please visit my website at aafinearts.com, where you will see information about my virtual classes and a selection of my paintings and prints. Thank you again. Until next time.